having guests at meetings is one of the easiest and most effective ways that you can recruit. It doesn't take any time at all because you're already there, you're already training. So you're just incorporating something else into the time that you're already using. Now, it also gives consultants something that they can invite people to regularly. You can even recognize people that have brought guests along. So every potentially interested person that they meet since the last meeting should just automatically be invited. Now, of course, you're going to still have to do some one-on-one recruiting, but this is a great way to get a group of people together at a meeting that you might be able to invite. There could be some invitations made up that throughout the time as people are doing their parties, consultants can give out, but they do need to follow up on them closer to the time and encourage them just to bring a friend along as well. Now, whenever we've had friends along, it's always good. People like to have people along for support, but quite often, in my experience, the friends ended up joining as well. So you've got 2 consultants from only inviting 1. Now, people like to be part of a group, and they like to see the recognition, see what's happening. They like to feel the atmosphere, and you can't get that when you're recruiting one-on-one. You can talk about it, but there's nothing like being there, so it's great for them to be there. We mentioned this before, they might not identify with you, but they will identify with someone. So your consultants all need to be cooperative. They may have guests there themselves, so you need to make sure that the atmosphere is friendly and people are chatty and helpful. The guests are going to get to see real results and what real people are doing. It's not just about what's printed in a glossy magazine, which is all that they see when you do a one-on-one recruiting interview. Now, I'm not trying to talk you out of doing those one-on-ones because we still do those, but this is one of the benefits of having people in a group. It's really important that the event or the training meeting is promoted as a time for all your questions to be answered about the business, and that's then what you're going to do in the meeting. So this one is just purely, you'll have people there that actually want to know a little bit more about the business, so you know exactly where you're at with people. You can be a little bit more upfront. Now, when you're doing the training part, it actually can be a little bit awkward if you've got guests in there, especially if you're doing a training on how to bring guests to meetings, for example. It can be a bit awkward, so you don't necessarily want the guests to be listening to that. So what I did was, we'll start off by giving recognition to the consultants, talking about anything exciting from the company, any new releases, any new promotions, so all the exciting parts. And then the guests would be taken off into another room so that they could get all of their questions answered by somebody else in there. Now, the person that would go with them would be one of my best recruiters or another team leader. And they would go and they would talk to these people and answer their questions. All of us would take turns, and everyone treated everyone else's lead exactly the same. Now, when I was doing this in my business, I was working with other leaders in the business. Most of them were not at all linked to me at all. They were not in my downline. They were not in my upline. They were nothing to do with my business at all, but we all took turns because we knew that if we could band together like this, all of our individual businesses would grow a lot faster than they could if we just tried to do it by ourselves, and that's absolutely what happened. So high level of trust, and any of us, if we were running the recruiting part, even if we had nobody there ourselves, we gave it our very best and we did everything that we could to look after the other people's guests. So that was really important. Now, when we took them into the other area to talk to them about the business, it would just be informal, relaxed, and more like a chat. And we would start off with, finding out what do you know about the business already, because we want to make sure that it's accurate. We want to make sure that we can correct anything that is not accurate. It also means that we don't have to do a great big massive lecture about things that they already know. This doesn't work if it's a lecture, it works if it's a chat. So that would be the first. Next would be, what sort of questions do you have? And considering we've invited them along to an evening to have their questions answered, it's a really good idea to have a part in here where we do answer their questions, as well as that other people are going to enjoy hearing the questions from other people. Then we'll go through a brief sheet about the income and the benefits, which is just like what we talked about earlier in the customer appreciation nights. So that's all we have to do. Don't go into all the gory details, just go into the basics. If it's too complicated, it all becomes too hard and people switch off. Once we've finished that, everyone comes back into the main group for the last bit, and that would be something uplifting, something motivational, and then we would finish the evening on that. So these days we can use technology to do a lot of this. It's crazy if we're not using some of the stuff that's available. So I'd like to encourage you to even think about how you can make this, make use of technology to do some of this. And if you're meeting your team once a month for a meeting, it's probably not really enough contact, but there would be nothing wrong with you putting another meeting in that's a virtual meeting, so it's on a webinar, not face-to-face. It means that you could actually run this whole same thing again. You could run a bit of a business talk on the webinar as well. Not the same as being in the room together, but it's a really good way for you to talk to people that your consultants have met. I personally would never encourage a new consultant who has not recruited much before to do their own recruiting. I would want to do it for them so that they could be part of it, listen to how I do it, learn from that, and then have a go themselves. So this is a really good way to do that, especially if you've got people who don't live near you.